So are you going to believe me if I tell you that we can install Grafana in less than 60 seconds on a Linux server? If you don't believe me, I'm going to show you how. So go to grafana.com/grafana/download, scroll down, select the edition. So in this case, we want to select the open source. So we are going to select OSS, and then you can select Linux, and then further scroll down, select the flavor whichever you are on. So right now I am on CentOS. So I'm going to use these two lines of command. So first line is going to download the software, and second line is going to install the software. So I have copied the first line. I'm going to go to the server. This is the server which I am on. I'm going to paste it and then hit enter. This is going to download the software. Software is downloaded. Now I'm going to go to that page again. I'm going to copy the second line, and then I'm going to paste it here again. Now before I hit enter, just remember this command is running with sudo. So what it means is the software installation is going to take place as root user. So make sure you have sudo access. If it gives you error or says you that you don't have sudo access, in that case you need to get in touch with your Linux admin, and he's going to give you sudo access. So hit enter, and then software is going to get installed. If it asks for confirmation, select yes or Y, hit enter, and then it is going to install the software. Now remember, once the software is installed, by default it is not in a started mode, so you have to start the services. So for example, here you can see it is showing you all the commands which you can use to enable, start or stop the services. So first of all, we are going to run this command. I'm just going to copy it and going to paste it here. So what this command is going to do is, it is going to make sure whenever server is started, Grafana is going to start automatically. So let's say if your server goes down for whatever reason, and if it comes up, Grafana is also going to come up automatically. So this is very important. If you don't do it, in that case, let's say if your server is rebooted, in that case you will have to manually start Grafana services. So in a production, it is always good that you run this command. Now second command which we are going to run here is, it is going to help us start Grafana services. You can see the command is pretty simple. I'm going to hit enter. Now Grafana services have started. How do I check that Grafana services are really started? So in that case, I can just copy paste the same command, and I can change start, and I can change it to status. Hit enter, and then we can see that it is showing Grafana is successfully started and active. Now I'm going to go to the browser, and then we are going to see whether the Grafana services are really running or not. So I need public IP address of my server. Just give me a moment. I'm going to quickly copy it. So this is the this is the IP address of my server, and I'm going to paste this IP address here. And by default, Grafana runs on port 3000. So we are going to use this port 3000. And now you see this is how the user interface of Grafana is going to look like when it loads for the first time. See how beautiful, how easy it is to install Grafana in less than 60 seconds on a Linux machine. Now by default, you need to log in with admin as a username, and also password is going to be admin. So I'm going to give admin again. Now click on login. It is going to ask you whether you want to change the password. I don't want to change the password, so I'm going to click on skip, and then we are going to see beautiful home page of Grafana. Now we have installed latest version of Grafana which was released today. So right now you can see here we have the release information. So this is Grafana 8.1.4 which is released today on September 16, 2021. And I want you to learn latest version of Grafana, because Grafana has lots of features coming in latest version, and I want you to know all of those latest features. So that's all in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson. Now in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to install Grafana on a Windows system. So let's go to grafana.com/grafana/download, scroll down, go to Windows, and then we are going to go to Windows installer. I'm going to click here on download the installer. Software is going to get downloaded. It is probably going to take just a few seconds because the software size is very small, and once it gets downloaded, we are just going to click on it in order for installation to begin. Now if you have some software installed or any antivirus installed, it may try to block the software from installation. Then you can just in that case you can just click on more info, and then you can click on run anyway. And now you can see installation has begun, and we just need to select next, accept the license agreement, and then here you have option of changing the directory in which you want to install Grafana. So by default it is going to get installed in C drive, program files and Grafana labs. And if you are running it in production, I will request you to please do not install the software in the same directory where operating system is running, because if our operating system crashes, the software is also going to crash, and it is not a good practice that you install the software in the same directory where operating system runs. However, since it is just a demo environment and I just have only C drive, I do not have any other drive in my system, so I'm just going to click on next in order to proceed with the installation, and then we are going to click on install. Now software is going to take probably just a few seconds to install as well. So now we can see software is successfully installed. I'm going to click on finish, and now we are going to see whether software is running or not. And in order to do that, you can see this Windows icon. Just right click here, and then we are going to get an option of run. So here select run, and then you can type services.msc, and then it is going to open up a service manager where you can see all the Windows services. You can manage the status of those services. Now here we are going to search for Grafana, and as you can see, Grafana is by default is in running state on Windows. So that means Grafana is successfully installed, and now we should be able to go to localhost and 3000, which is the port, the default port of Grafana. Hit enter, and now it should be able to load user interface of Grafana. Now by default username and password is admin, so I'm just going to type admin, and then it's the same password, so I'm just going to copy and paste the password here. Click on login. If it asks for changing the password in production, it is always a good practice that you change the password, and otherwise you can just click on skip, and once we click on skip, it is going to show us the home page of Grafana. So that's it. You are now completely ready in order to go ahead and start using Grafana. See you again in the next lesson. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to install Grafana on Docker system. So this is a server where we already have Docker installed. I'm going to run this command. So we need to write docker run -d-p 3000:3000 grafana/grafana. So we are running this Docker actually in a detached mode, and we are mapping the port of 3000 from guest to host. And then grafana/grafana is basically the latest version of Grafana, which is 8. And then we are going to hit enter. And now it is trying to pull all the images of Grafana from Docker Hub. Okay, so Docker container is now running. We are going to go to this server public IP address, and then we are going to start seeing whether Grafana is running or not. So I'm just going to copy this IP address, and then we are going to give this IP address here. Port is 3000, hit enter, and then it should be able to show us Grafana login screen. Okay, so we need to run admin, which is the default ID and password of Grafana. When you log in for the first time, click on login. It is going to ask you to change the password. We don't really need to change any password for now, because it's a demo environment, but in production always make sure you change the password. So now I'm going to click on skip, and then it is going to show us home page of Grafana. So now you see how easy it is to install Grafana on a Dockerized container environment. So that's it in this session. See you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how we can quickly install Prometheus on a Linux server. So we need to go to prometheus.io/download, and then just scroll down, look for Prometheus, then look for the operating system which you want to install Prometheus on. So in this case, we want to install it on Linux. So I'm just going to select this software. I'm going to right click, select copy link address. Then I'm going to move on to the server on which we want to install Prometheus. So in this case, I want to install Prometheus on the same server where I have installed Grafana, but in your production environment, you may want to install Prometheus on a separate environment. So that's completely fine. That is how you should do it. And in this case, I'm just going to write wget. I'm going to paste the path which I just copied. I'm going to hit enter, and then it is going to download the software. Now once the software is downloaded, if we do ls-lrt, you can see that software is currently compressed, so we need to uncompress it. For that, you can do tar zxvf and just write the complete path of the software which we downloaded. And now we can clear the screen first, then do ls-lrt, and you can see there is a folder which has been created which is called Prometheus. Now let's move inside this directory, and let's do ls-lrt. Now you can see there is a couple of utility. One utility is called Prometheus. This is the one which we are going to use to start or stop Prometheus, and then there is Prometheus tool which is used to do some syntax checking of rules. And then we have a configuration file which is called prometheus.yml. This is a default configuration file, and inside this there is some YML configuration written. We don't need to worry about that for now. We just need to know that this is a configuration file, and currently all of these are kept under this location. Okay, so if I do pwd, which is present working directory, it is telling me currently I'm at this location. Now we want to start, stop, or check the status of Prometheus service using systemctl commands. So in order to do that, we have to do a couple of more steps. So what we need to do is we need to create a file which is going to be called prometheus.service file, and inside that file we need to write this piece of code, okay, or basically this piece of instructions. You don't need to worry about all of this, what is written here in this instruction. All you need to know is that there are 3 sections in this. First section is called unit, which is just giving the information about what this software is all about. The second section is called service, where we are telling that this software should be running with root user, and if it fails, then it should get restarted. And in the execution start, we need to tell where our Prometheus software is. So for example, in this case, our Prometheus software is at this location. So I'm going to copy it, I'm going to paste it here, and then I'm going to write slash and the name of our software, which is Prometheus. So I'm just going to paste it here, and then we are saying --config.file, and we need to tell where is our configuration file. So our configuration file is again located here, which is called prometheus.yml. so this is the directory which I'm going to paste here. Then we need to write slash, and we need to write name of the configuration file. So just make sure this location is, this is the full path of the configuration file, and then this is the full path of Prometheus software file. Okay, and that's all we need to do. I'm just going to copy it and paste it in this file. Okay, so just going to copy this, and we are going to run it here. So we need to say sudo vi. I'm gonna create this file prometheus.service, and remember this is being created under /etc/systemd/system. So that's why we need to use sudo, because only root user is going to have access to this. Now hit enter, and you are going to see this is there are some instructions already written here because I just installed it previously. Now I'm going to delete everything whatever is available here, and we are going to write everything from fresh. So whatever I selected here, whatever I have written here, I'm going to select it, going to paste it here, going to save it, and now we are good to reload this configuration. So we are going to use sudo systemctl daemon reload, and then this is going to just make everything aware that there is some configuration file which has been changed. And now we can do sudo systemctl status prometheus, and then it is going to tell us that currently Prometheus is not running. And then I'm just going to start Prometheus again. So we are going to say sudo systemctl, we are going to write start Prometheus, and then we can check the status again. So right now you can see it is saying Prometheus is active and it is running, and by default Prometheus listens on port 9090. So for example, in this case I'm just going to go to this server IP address, because it is the same server on which we had installed Grafana and Prometheus. So I'm just going to give this IP address, and then we are going to say 9090, hit enter, and it should be able to open Prometheus. You can see that Prometheus user interface is trying to load, and this is how Prometheus looks like. Now we are not going to go into much detail of Prometheus, because this course is all about Grafana, but this is how you install Prometheus, and this is how Prometheus user interface looks like. Now in next lesson we are going to learn how to install node exporter, and then Prometheus is going to basically read all the data from that node exporter. So see you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson I'm going to show you how to install node exporter. So you need to install node exporter on all the servers which you want to monitor. So in your environment you may have 10 or 20 or whatever number of application servers, and you want to monitor system metrics. So for example, you want to monitor CPU utilization on those servers or memory utilization on those servers and so on. In that case you need to make sure that you install node exporters on those servers. So you need to go to prometheus.io/download, and then scroll down, search for node exporter. As you can see, we have node exporter available here. And since I'm going to install this node exporter on Linux version, so I'm going to select Linux. I'm just going to right click, going to select copy link address, and then I have another server So this is the server which is called web app. This is a web application server where I want to install Node Exporter. So in order to download Node Exporter, I'm going to write wget and going to paste the software URL which we just copied, and now the software is downloaded. And if we do ls-lrt, we can see this is the software which is available. I'm just going to uncompress it by doing tar zxvf, and we can do ls-lrt again. We can see there is a folder which has been created. Now if we move inside this folder and if we do ls-lrt, you can see we have Node Exporter. Now I'm just going to clear the screen once and let's do ls-lrt again. So now, as I shown you in previous lesson, that we can manage this service using systemctl process. So we are going to do the same for this process as well. So I'm just going to go here. I'm just gonna replace all of these. We don't need all of these, and we are going to give path of Node Exporter. So I'm just going to copy it, going to paste it here, and then I'm going to give slash. We need to copy this Node Exporter and then going to paste it here. And then this time, let's say we don't want to call it Prometheus.service. If you want to call it Prometheus.service, this is fine. This is completely okay. Or if you want to call it Node.service or Node Exporter.service, you can change it as well. So let's change it to Node Exporter.service. Okay, so this is what we are going to call it. I'm just going to copy it, going to paste it here, hit enter, and then we have a file here. I'm just going to copy paste everything from here. We are going to just paste everything here, whatever we have copied. I have copied everything here. I'm going to save it, exit from here, and now we can reload the configuration as we did last time. So I'm just going to copy it, going to paste it here, and then now we can say sudo systemctl. So for example, in this case, we can say sudo systemctl node_exporter. And now you can see it is saying that currently it is inactive, it is not running. So I'm just going to start it. For that we are going to say start Node Exporter, and now we are going to see the status again. So it is saying it is running, that's what we wanted to see. And now if we do hostname, we can see that a hostname of this server is web app. We can do hostname -i to get the IP address of this hostname. And why we need the IP address of this hostname is for obvious reason, that we need to tell Prometheus that Prometheus should start looking for this Node Exporter and should start gathering metrics from this server. Okay, so I'm just going to copy it, and then we need to move on to Prometheus server. So this is the server where we install Prometheus. If I do pwd, you can see we are at /home/Prometheus. I'm going to do ls-lrt. We are at this place. So I'm going to move to Prometheus, going to do ls-lrt again. We are going to modify prometheus.yml. So I'm going to say prometheus.yml, and here you can see we have this section which is called static configs, and here we have a target which is localhost, which means it is trying to monitor itself as well, which is fine. And then we need to add other nodes which we want to manage. Okay, so the other node which we have now is the one where we just installed Node Exporter. So for example, this is the one where we installed Node Exporters, and then we need to see at which port Node Exporter listens on. So right now you can see it is listening on port 9100. So we need to specify here port which is 9100, and then we can save it. We can exit from here, and then we need to restart Prometheus. So I'm going to do sudo systemctl restart Prometheus. So Prometheus is restarted. We are just going to run status command again to check the status of restart, and now we can see Prometheus is running again. So I'm just going to go to Prometheus, and this is the place where we had installed Prometheus. So I'm just going to run up query here and click on execute, and now you can see we are able to see this node, okay, which is the node where we had installed Node Exporter. So it is if we run up command, it is going to basically show whether that agent is up or not, or that server is up or not. So currently we can see there is data being gathered for that server, and this is the server which is localhost. So this is the server where we have installed Prometheus. Okay, so now everything is quite clear. Just a quick recap: we have installed Grafana on this IP address, and then we have installed Prometheus on the same server, and then we have installed node exporter on this IP address which is running on port 9100. Okay, now we are going to use Prometheus as a data source in order to create Grafana dashboards. So thank you so much for watching. As of now, see you again in the next lesson. Now in this lesson I'm going to show you how we can connect to Prometheus data source and then we can create a panel in Grafana. So in order to create data source, we need to go to configuration and then click on data sources, and then here we need to select add data source, and then we need to select Prometheus. Just click on select, and then here it is going to ask for all the settings related to Prometheus. So here we need to give the details of Prometheus server. So it is asking for which URL our Prometheus is installed and running on. So this is the one basically we just need to pass it on here. So I'm just going to give this URL. And then this is the name of the data source. So by default it is called Prometheus, but this is just the logical name. If you want to change it to anything else, you can do that. Now if you just scroll down, all other settings are not required because we have not enabled any authentication in Prometheus. So we are just good. You can just scroll down, click on save and test. And if everything is good, it is going to say that data source is working. So we can now click on back. And once you click on back, you can see that you can now see a data source under Prometheus. Okay, so just before we move on, I'm just going to go to Prometheus here. This is a Prometheus graphical user interface. And here I'm just going to, previously I shown you that we can run up in order to see how many of the nodes are up. And we also saw that we have installed node exporter on this node, and we can see it is currently showing a status of 1, which means it is currently up and running. Now I'm going to run another query which is going to give us CPU utilization, and I'm going to click on execute, and we also need to change it from table to graph. So I'm going to click on graph, and this is how it shows in a graphical interface of Prometheus. As you can see here, probably Prometheus when it comes to user interface is not really as good as Grafana, and that is the reason we generally do not rely on Prometheus user interface. We always try to create all the beautiful visualization in Grafana. So now I'm going to use the same query in Grafana and going to create a dashboard. So now we can click on plus now and click on dashboard, and then we are going to say add an empty panel. And once we do that, we are going to be coming here. Now in the data source, just make sure you have selected the data source which you created. So in this case, Prometheus is the data source which we need. And then here we can give the query Prometheus query. Okay, so here I'm going to paste the query which we executed here. And now here you can see, you can already see the data has started coming here. Now this dashboard is looking quite busy. So probably we can change from the last 6 hours, we can change it to be last 15 minutes. And then we can see the data here. Okay, and if you just scroll towards or move towards right hand side, there is an option of giving panel title. So this is a panel title which you see here. Now I'm going to change it to CPU load, and then we can click on save or we can click on apply. So if you click on apply, now you can see here, we can see CPU load dashboard or CPU load related data. Now we are going to learn lots of other settings in next lesson. So stay tuned and see you again in the next lesson. So now since you have installed the software, you must be very eager to learn and start creating your dashboards in Grafana. But before we move ahead, it's good that we have a basic understanding of Grafana user interface. So this is the home page. This is how it looks like when you install Grafana and open Grafana for the first time. This is how home page is going to look like. Now all you see here is just panels. Though it looks like beautifully created website, though it looks like probably very beautiful created blog site, but it really is panels. So in Grafana dashboards, whenever we create a dashboard is nothing but combination of different panels. So I'm going to show you how we can create all of these panels in our upcoming lessons. But for now, you just need to understand that all of these options which you see, all of these are different panels which has been created and put here. So now on the left side we have home icon. So it doesn't matter whichever option you are on, you can just click here and then you are going to come back to this home page. And then just below that we have search dashboard option. So you can click on search dashboard option, and then let's say once you start working in the project, you may have some 20 or 50 or hundreds of dashboards depending on the project to project. And in that case, you are going to have a long list of dashboards or folders which have been organized here. And in sometimes it becomes difficult to search for the dashboard which you are looking for. In that case, you can just give the name of some keyword, and it is going to show you all the relevant dashboard here. So we are going to look back to it probably in future, but for now you just need to remember this is going to give you option of searching the dashboard. And then the next icon is very powerful icon which we are going to use very frequently. So this option is about creating the dashboard. So we are going to click on plus, then we are going to click on dashboard, or we are going to click on folder, or we are going to click on import. There are three options for various reasons. So if I click on dashboard, in that case you see I come to this page. And here I have option of creating panels, and then I can add different panels here, which is eventually going to make up a dashboard. So here, for example, you can see I can click on add a panel, and then once I click on add a panel, I come here to edit panel option, where I have option of selecting different type of visualization option, and then I can change the queries and so on, and then I can click on save or apply, and then I can give the name to this dashboard. So I'm just going to click on save for now, and you see this, we have created a panel. Okay, this is called a panel, which currently have no data because we didn't write any query, we didn't give any data sources, but this is how a panel looks like. So you can adjust the panel. So for example, if I want to resize it, I can do that. If I just want to whichever way I just want to resize, I can do that. If you just want to create multiple panels, you can do that. In this case, for example, I'm just going to duplicate this panel. I'm going to show you. You can have panels of different sizes. So for example, one panel can be of smaller size, the other panel can be of longer size. So depending on the type of data, or depending on the type of graph or bar chart or whatever you are showing, you can adjust these panels. So all of these options comes when you go to plus and you click on dashboard. So for now, I'm just going to click on save dashboard, and this is just an empty dashboard. We are just going to save it for the sake of saving it. And then second option which we have is called folder. I'm just going to click on folder and going to show you that once we select on folder, we get this option. Okay, so this is saying manage dashboards and folders. So if I click here on manage, you are going to see this dashboard. So this is a dashboard which we just created, which is an empty dashboard. It just has a couple of empty panels. It doesn't really have much. But once you have all the dashboards, then it is going to basically show up here. You can organize dashboards in different folders. So for example, this folder is called general folder, and this dashboard is part of this general folder. Now I may go on, click on new folder, and I can move this dashboard to that new folder. So you basically organize all your dashboards in different folders. So for example, let's say I'm going to create a report for finance team. Then in that case, I'm just going to click on finance and going to create a folder. And then I'm not really going to now create a dashboard. Let's just click on dashboard again, and you can see that here we have a folder which is called finance. And if I just click on select go to folder, in that case we are going to move inside this finance folder. That's where we were. So I just selected dashboard and came one step behind. Now, if you want to move this little dashboard, whatever we have created, if you want to move it to this folder, you can do that. Just select it and click on move, and then it is going to ask you where you want to move it to. So for example, if I want to move it to finance, I can do those stuff. Okay, so these are the kind of options which we have. Or if you want to just delete a folder, so for example, this is general folder, I want to just select it. I'm just going to expand it and going to select it, and then we are going to get an option to delete it. So I'm just going to delete it, click on delete, and now this is gone. Okay, so it says everything is deleted. That's all we need to know in this option as of now. And then now we are going to click on plus again, and then we are going to select import. So using import, we can import any dashboard which is, let's say, created in Grafana on any other environment. So typically in production environment, or typically in any project which you are working on, you are going to have a development environment, then you are going to have a QT environment, quality or SIT environment, whatever you call it, and then you are going to have production environment. So initially you are probably going to create all the dashboard in development environment, and then you want to migrate or promote those dashboards to production environment. So what you do is you export all the dashboards, and then you import those dashboard here in this production environment if this is a production environment. Okay, so this option is going to help you import different dashboards created in any environment which you want to bring it here in this environment. So we are going to use it a lot. We are going to probably going to use some of the dashboard which is available open source. We are just going to copy that and going to import it here and going to get some inspiration from that. Okay, so that's all it does. Now the next option which we have is called dashboard. So if I click here on dashboard, it is going to bring me to this option which is home page. And then if I click on manage, this is the same option which I came on. So for example, initially we selected plus and then we clicked on folder, and then after folder we had to click on manage to go to manage option. Now if you just want to directly jump onto manage option, you can just go to dashboard, click on manage, and you are directly going to end up here. So that's all in this option. All others is not required for now. We are going to learn it when we really need it. And the third option is explore. This I'm going to tell you later. For now you don't really need to bother about this one. So next option is alerting. Alerting is useful when we want to create notifications. So for example, let's say you want to create telegram notification or email notification. In that case we are going to use these alerting rules, or we are going to use notification channels. For now I'm just going to show you how it looks like. This is how alerting windows looks like, and then we are going to click on notification channel. This is how it is going to look like. We can click on add channel, and we are going to have an option of adding any sort of notification settings or configuration related things here. Here you can select whichever notification channel which you want to select. So you see we have an option of sending email alert, we have option of sending so many different types of alerts, you name it, we have it. So I'm just gonna go back to configuration, and in configuration we have various options. We have data sources. So if I click on data sources, you see we have option of adding different data sources. So you can add Prometheus, you can click on add data source, and you can use any of the available data sources. So for example, here you can see you can have MySQL as a data source, you can have PostgreSQL as a data source, or you can have many other options as well as data source. Some of those are enterprise plugins, which means if you want to use it, you have to buy it, but most of them are available as open source as well. Now I'm going to show you other option, which is users. So if you click on users, you have option of creating users, and you can give permission to users. You can have different permission for different users. By default, admin user is already created, which is having the role of admin. You can go ahead and create other users and give them different permissions. So for example, you created a beautiful dashboard and you don't want anyone to screw it. So you just give read-only permission, or you just give view permission, and then that guy is going to have only view permission on that dashboard. Let's move on. We are going to come here later, and for now we just understand that here we can create users. Now we have option of teams. So teams is more like group which you can create. We don't need all of these to know in more detail. We just whatever we are going to do, we are going to do inside dashboard. But you need to know that you have control of creating different users, and also there is option of API keys. So if you want to manage Grafana programmatically, so for example, let's say if you want to create Grafana user without even logging to Grafana, or you want to create Grafana user by using Python program, you want to use REST APIs, or you want to create dashboards programmatically, so you can do those kind of things in Grafana. And for that reason you have to use API key for authentication, and this is the place where you generate those API keys. So again, we don't need it for now. Next option which we have is server admin. So you can click on server admin, and you have option of, let's click here on server admin, and you see we have different tabs, and here also you can see the same tabs here. Okay, so user tab is again showing users. Organization is no longer needed, and it is probably going to no longer be there in future, so we don't need to learn it. You can select on settings, and you can see what is the default settings which is available in Grafana. So if you want to change any of these settings, you have to make these changes in grafana.ini configuration file from the server. Okay, so I'm going to show it to you later on, but this is the place where you can see all the default settings which are available. That's all we need to know in these options, and whatever we are going to use more frequently, I have already given you an overview of that. Now if you just come down here at the bottom, you can see this is a user icon which you can see here, and this is your user icon. You can change it, And here we have we have several options as well. We have option of preferences. So under preferences, I can change the name. So for example, I can change the name here to my name. And also if you want to change the email ID, you can change that. You want to change the username, go ahead and change it. You want to change the preferences. So for example, if you do not like this dark theme, just go ahead, click on light theme, and then it is going to change. Also, if when you log in, by default you see the default home page. If you don't want to see that, you want to change it, go ahead and change it from here. Click on save, and then you will see that this is going to change to light mode. I don't really like light mode, because if you are working for longer hours, it's better to keep dark mode. So I'm just going to change it back to dark mode, going to save it. And that's all you need to know about preferences. You have an option of changing the password here, so you can click on change password, and then you can change your password. If you think you are in a production environment and you are logging in with the default password, then make sure after logging in for the first time you always change the password, because otherwise it is not secure. Now other option which we have here is sign out. So I'm just going to click on sign out, and we are going to log out from here. Okay, so that's the option which we have. So that's pretty much about Grafana user interface. So you see how quick, simple and easy it is. Everything is so straightforward, and that is the power of Grafana. Everything is so simple, so beautiful, and yet very powerful. So that's all in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson. So I hope you have been learning great so far, and in this lesson I'm going to show you how to use gauge visualization. So we are going to add new panel, gonna add an empty panel, and then we are going to use gauge. Okay, now in gauge we have two types of gauges. We have gauge, standard gauge visualization, and then we have bar gauge. So we are going to learn to use each of these. Now I'm just going to discard it for now, and let's also just remove this panel. And what I'm going to do is just going to duplicate this panel, and then I'm going to show you how to edit a panel, and also going to show you how we can change it to a gauge panel. So I'm just going to click on edit, and I'm going to continue using the same query, and then in the table visualization, whatever we see here, I'm going to change it to gauge visualization. And now you can see this is how we are able to see this data. Now it is showing everything just in one value, or basically it's not showing for each mount point. This because we have changed the visualization, and here in the format we have also just selected table. So we should be changing it to time series. So once I change it to time series, we can now see the data for each of these mount points. Now I don't want this mount point, I just want to see the name of the mount point. I don't want to see this mount point label. So for that we need to use curly braces, and we need to say mount point and curly braces again. So this is how it is showing now. Now remember one thing, essentially the data which was coming in this in this is actually coming in bytes, and then we selected the units to be bytes, and that's the reason we see here data in human readable format, but behind the scene data is still in bytes. So the reason why I told you this, that we are going to use thresholds, and let's say I want to create threshold, and anything which is having more than 97% of data, I want to have different color for that. So 97, let's say if I want to, I'm just going to quickly convert 97, or let's quickly convert anything more than 95 MB to bytes, and this is the bytes which we have. So I'm going to put this bytes here, and then I'm going to add one more threshold, and this time I'm going to change the color to red, anything for which we have let's say anything over and above 1 gigabyte. So let's say it's going to be 1024 megabyte, which is 1 GB, and I'm just going to copy it here, and I guess we should be changing it to 8, and I'm gonna change it to red color. Okay, so this is how we can use gauges, and we can also change the color of these gauges. Now I'm going to click on apply, and you can see how different it looks like from the one which we have used for table visualization. Okay, so you can play around, you can beautify your dashboards depending on the sort of information which you want to show here. Now the same thing I can also show it using bar gauge. So I'm just going to do another duplication, and then we are going to edit it again, and now we are going to select bar gauge. And once we select bar gauge, you can see now this is already changed. Okay, so changing format between one gauge to another is quite simple. I'm just going to click on apply, and now I'm also going to duplicate it again and going to change. I'm going to see different type of option available for this bar gauge. So we are going to scroll down, and once we scroll down in bar gauge, we can see we have display mode, and we have gradient, we have retro LCD. If you select retro LCD, this is how it is going to look like. And you have option of selecting basic. So for example, let's say we select retro LCD, and then I'm going to click on apply, and then again I'm just going to duplicate it one more time, and this time I'm going to edit it again, and now I'm going to change it to from vertical, we are going to change it to horizontal. Okay, and this is how it is going to look like. Also I'm going to change it to basic. I'm going to click on apply, and I'm going to resize it. I'm going to make it little smaller, and I'm going to fit it here. So these are different visualizations which you can use, and I hope this session was full of learning. See you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson we are going to learn how to use table visualization, and for that I'm going to click again on add panel, going to add an empty panel, and then we are going to select table. Now in table we should be showing something which has tabular information, and that can be something like, let's say, disk space utilization for all the different mount points. So I'm just going to go to matrix browser this time, and I'm going to search for file system. And now in file system, if we see, we have different options available. So for example, let's say if we are interested in what is the free bytes available on all the different mount points. Okay, so I have just selected node file system free bytes, and then there is an option of whether you want to select all the mount points or whether you want to select any particular mount point. You can do those things, but in this case I'm just going to leave it as it is, and then I'm going to click on use query. Now if you see, the information which we have is something like this. Now here we can enable instant in order to see only the latest information, and now if I click on instant, we see information like this. Now I want to sum up all of these I want to sum up all of this information, so we can see a single entry. So for that we can do sum, and we can do sum by mount point, and now let's see how the information is being shown. Okay, so right now we can see we have information only for run mount point, which is being shown here, and here we can see we have sort of filter to select any of the available mount points. Now the reason this is happening is because right now if you see, format is being shown as time series, so we need to change it to table, and now we can see that all of the mount points are being displayed here, and this is the time, this is at which the latest information was being pulled. So we can see that this time is exactly the time which is matching with my current system time. This values is in bytes, so as we know, now we can change this unit to bytes, and we can select data bytes. Now we can see that it is being shown properly in MB or GBs, which is more human-like format. And then what we can do is, let's say we want to change some of the formatting here. So for that, let's scroll down and see what are the options which we have. Okay, so here if you see, there are quite interesting options which are available when we go to cell display mode. So here we have an option of color text. So let's say if I select color text, you can see that all of these colors are being changed, and all of these colors are being changed based on the value which is available here in the threshold. So now we just want to get rid of this red color, and then we are just going to have all of this information in green color. And now let's just go up again, and let's see what are the other options available. Now let's say if we want to change background gradient, we have option of doing that. If we want to keep solid color, we have an option of doing that, and also we have gradient gauge. So for example, you might have seen that some people display time and mount point, and then the value is being displayed in gauge. Now if I select gradient gauge here, you can see all of these information are being messed up. We don't want to display time or mount point in gradient gauge. So for that I'm going to let's say we are just going to keep it, change it back to auto, and then what we can do is we can enable gradient gauge only for value. So for that we can go on overrides, and then we can go to add field name, and in the field with name we are going to select this field name, which is called value, and then we are going to select add override property, and here we want to add cell display mode, and in the cell display mode we are going to change it to let's say gradient gauge. Now this looks quite nice, okay, and you can see now the formatting is looking quite good. If you want to change it to LCD gauge, you can do that. There is an option of basic gauge, you can select that as well. So just depends how you want to format this, and also if you just want to color it, or you can do that as well. So these are the options which are available, which you can just play around with. In this case I'm just going to keep it gradient gauge. I'm going to go to all again, and here I'm going to call it free space. So this is how easy it is to create a tabular format or create a tabular panel in Grafana. I'm going to click on apply, and this is where we can have this information. So I'm just going to resize it so everything fits together, and that's it in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson we are going to learn about another visualization. So I'm going to click on add panel, and then click on add an empty panel, and then we are going to select stat. So stat is useful when you want to display single data, okay, single piece of information, which can be, let's say, max memory utilization, or it can be max CPU utilization, or you want to show server uptime, or probably you want to show anything which is having a single value. So right now let's say I want to show what is the uptime of this server. So in that case we are going to use this query, and I'm going to put this query here in query editor, and now you can see it is going to show us that server is up from these many number of seconds. Now as I shown you in previous lesson that we can also change the unit. If you move here on the right hand side, and if you scroll down, we are going to change the unit to seconds, and once we do that we'll be able to see this in number of hours or in number of days once it changes to the number of days. Okay, so this is quite intuitive, looks quite good. I'm also going to change the panel name. I'm going to change the panel title, going to call it uptime, and then we can just click on apply and going to save it. Now if you want to change the color of it, you can just scroll down, and you can see that currently there is a threshold set, so you can remove this one, and then whatever is base color, that color is going to take effect, and this is going to be shown in that color. Okay, so now I'm just going to click on apply, and you can see we are able to see server uptime. So that's all in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson I'm going to show you how we can create a panel and how we can modify some of the visualizations options which are available in those panels. So first of all, I'm just going to click here again on panel, and then we are going to select add an empty panel. Now once we do that, we come here to edit panel section, and then if you move here on the right hand side, you can see here by default it is showing time series. Now you can change it, and you can change it to any visualization which you want to see. So right now you can see there are so many visualizations which are available. The one which gets selected is time series, but if you want to change it to bar chart, you can do it. If you want to change it to stats, you can do it. You have an option of selecting gauge, bar gauge, table, pie chart, and there are so many others. So this is going to be your first step. So you select the type of visualization which you want, and then you start writing your query. So in this case we can still stick to time series, and in our upcoming lessons we are going to use some of the other available visualization options as well. Now let's move on and create a simple query, so to show total memory utilization. Okay, so what we need to do here is, in the previous session I just put the query here, But if you are not sure of the query, you just remember what is the type of matrix which calculates or gathers this kind of data. In that case, you can click here on matrix browser. If you click here on matrix browser, it is going to show you all the matrix which are available in Prometheus. So you see here all these matrix which you can see here. Now let's say if I'm interested in memory. So in that case, what I can do is I can just start typing memory. For example, let me type here memory, and you can see all the matrix which are related to memory has started showing here. Now let's say if we want to show total memory available, in that case we can scroll down, we can look for the one matrix which we are interested in, or let's say if we want to show swap memory, we have option of those things. And there are so many options which are available. You need to see what fits your need. Now let's say I'm just interested in what is the total bytes of memory which are available. So in that case, I just can click on memory total available. So once we select that, you can see that there are options available here on the right hand side as well. So if you want to apply any filter, you can do that here, but in my case I'm not going to select anything else. So in the resulting selector, you can see the query is going to be node memory mem total bytes. Okay, and that is the one which I have pasted here as well. So either you can just copy paste it, or you can select it from the matrix and then just click on use query, and now you can see this is the data which we see. Okay, so it is showing us a total memory bytes which are available. Now if I click here on query, I'll have an option of adding another query. Okay, so this query is called query A, which you can see here as well. And there is an option of if you want to you can expand it or you can collapse it. And now we can focus on query B. Now let's say in query B we want to see how many total bytes of memory which are free right now. So we know the total memory, and we also want to see how many are the ones which are free. So I'm just going to paste the query this time. I'm not going to write or not going to select from matrix browser. I just put here in node memory mem free bytes this query here. Okay, so you see this is the total one, and this is the one which is free right now. And also now you can see here you are able to see all of these values here. Now let's say if I want to now see what is the total memory which are occupied, which is used. So we know how much is total, and we also know how much is free. And if we want to know how much is now used, in that case I can click on query, and then we can copy this total and we can paste it here, and then I can write minus whatever the free memory which is available from this total memory. Okay, so whatever left out is actually going to be the used ones. Okay, so this is how we can write the query, and also we can perform different operations such as subtraction operation which is being performed here. Okay, so now you can see this query is representing total bytes. However, if you see here in legends, we have an option which is saying node memory mem total bytes. Now let's say if you just want to show here used, you don't want to show anything else. In that case, you can just change it to whatever legend you want to specify here. So I'm just going to say total, and then if I click here, you can see now that has been changed to total, and this one is going to be free bytes, so I'm going to call it free, and now you can see this is changed to free. Okay, and this one is used, so I'm going to call it used, and now you can see all of this is looking quite beautiful. And that's all in the query. Now let's move towards the right hand side. Now in the right hand side, as I shown you, we have option of panel title, so we can call it memory usage, and then below this we have description. So if you want to give some description, you can give it. For example, I'm just going to give it memory usage panel, and then we have transparent background. So you can click here, or you can select, or you can enable transparent background, and then this is how it is going to look like. If I disable it, this is how it looks like. So there is not much difference, slight difference if you just want to enable or disable it. Now panel links and repeat option, we don't need to know for now. We are going to probably see it in our upcoming lessons. Now if you go to tooltip, so what is a tooltip? So if you notice here, if I move my cursor here to these data points, we get this pop-up which is called tooltip. It gives us information about that particular data points. Okay, we can now whichever which depends on whichever type of matrix which I'm clicking on and the data points which I'm clicking on, it is showing me those information. Now let's see if doesn't matter whichever data point I'm clicking on, I'm interested or I want to see all the three matrix. In that case, we can change it from single to all. So in this case, if I select or move my cursor to any of the data points, it is going to show me information for all the matrix. Now you can also hide it. For example, now once I select hidden, and if I move my cursor to any of the data points, it is not going to display me any information. So I always like to keep it to all. Now let's scroll down and see this legend. So in legend, we have option of list, table or hidden. So if you select list, your legend is going to be listed like this, as you can see here. Now if I select table, it is going to be shown in a tabular format. So this legend is being shown in a tabular format. So now in some cases you may want to keep it as in a tabular format, or in other cases you might want to just keep it in a list format. So it depends what is the kind of visualization or how you want to see your data. And then we have legend placement, whether you want to see it at the bottom or you want to see it on the right hand side. So if I select right, this legend is going to move to the right hand side. Now in the legend values, it says whether you want to see last value, first value, or if you want to see minimum or maximum value along with the legend. So usually what I do is I move it to bottom. You can see here total free used, and then I also enable minimum and maximum value, and at times I also enable average value. Okay, so in that case, it gives you all the information. It gives you information about what is the minimum utilization, what is the maximum utilization in this particular period. Okay, so in last 15 minutes, the minimum and maximum utilization is this one. So you can see minimum is little less than maximum. Now if you scroll down, we have graph styles. So you can see lines. If I change it to bar, this is how it is going to look like. If I change it to points, this is how it is going to look like. And also there is option of increasing or decreasing point size, so you can adjust it based on your need. In this case, I'm just going to leave it to lines. Now lines can be of different types. So here you can see line interpolation, which is quite straight, or you can have something like this or this one. Now there is not much difference when you see lines are pretty straight here, but let's say if you have some curves, in that case if you change this line interpolation, in that case you can see the significant difference. If you just see this option, we have option of fill opacity. So you can fill opacity, and this is how it is going to look like. Okay, so it is going to fill the area. In some cases I do prefer enabling some sort of opacity, but it really depends on what is the kind of visualization you want. And then we have option of gradient mode. We have line style. So for example, you can see current line is quite solid. If you want to change it to dash lines, you can do it. You want to change it to dotted lines, you can do that. So these are like giving you that fine tune option of controlling each and every visualization option which is available here. And then we have axis. Now by default this axis is set to auto, which is going to be on the left hand side. If you want to move it to right hand side, you can select right, and then axis is going to be moving to right hand side. But in most of the cases, it is just going to be better to keep it on the left hand side. Now if you want to put some label, you can give some label. So for example, this is in bytes, so we can write bytes here, and then you can see this label is coming here. So now it is quite easy to understand that these values are represented in bytes. Now just scroll down, and then we have option of unit. So right now you can see this is in bytes, and then I can select in the units, I can type bytes, and then I can select data bytes. And then once I do that, you can see now it is showing us all the data in MBs. Okay, so this is quite useful. It is quite useful that all your data is auto handled based on whatever unit you specify. And also in some cases, let's say if you are showing some price value, you might want to change it to price unit. So for example, it might be dollars or some currency. You can do that as well. Okay, so all of those options are available here. Now you may also want to specify min and max value for this. So for example, you may want to start it from 0. You may want it to go all the way to some max value. So in that case, for example, you can see now minimum value is starting from 0. If you leave it blank, in that case Grafana is going to auto adjust it based on whatever the data which is available. available. So that's all in standard options. Now we can scroll down and we can see we have option of threshold. So thresholds are, I'm just going to show you probably in some other example. For now we can skip it, but threshold is basically just going to give you, going to show some sort of line and going to show you what is the threshold. Yeah, let's see it through an example in our upcoming lessons. Now that's all in this lesson, and now we can click on apply, we can save it, and this is how it is going to look like. Now as I told you that a dashboard is only combination of panels, so you can just move this panel and you can adjust it. Okay, you can align it, you can resize, you can play around with these panels, so you can set it based on whatever way you like. And then in order to save this dashboard, we need to click on save dashboard, and then this is going to get saved. By default it is called new dashboard copy. I'm just going to rename it, and I'm going to call it system health report, or just going to call it system health, and then going to click on save in order to save it. Now one more option I just want to show you. So for example, in CPU load right now you can see mode, it is showing as IO wait and also showing mode equal to. Now let's say you don't want this mode equal to be shown here. In that case you can just edit this, and then here in the legend format you need to specify curly braces, and then you need to write mode and then curly braces again. Now you see you are only going to see the value of mode, and that's it. I'm just going to click on apply, going to save it, and that's all in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson I'm going to show you how we can embed Grafana panel in any website. So I just created a very simple website. You can see this is my website which I have created, and if you want to see what is written in this HTML page, you can see this is what I have written, and now we are going to embed Grafana panel here. Now before we go on and embed Grafana panel, we also need to enable some of the settings in grafana.ini configuration file. So that's why I'm going to go to Grafana. I'm going to go to the server where we have Grafana installed, and then we are going to edit grafana.ini file in VI editor. You can use any other editor if you want, and then we are going to search for embedding, and here you need to make sure that you have set allow embedding to true. By default it is gonna be, you are going to see a semicolon here, so you need to remove that semicolon, and also if it is set to false you need to change it to true. And then the other thing which we need to change is anonymous, search for anonymous, and here we need to make sure that in authentication enabled you have set enabled to true, and make sure you remove the semicolon as well. And org name and org role you can leave it as it is, just remove the semicolon prefix which is there, so these changes can take effect. Now you can save it, and then you need to restart Grafana. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and restart Grafana, and now we are good to go ahead. We are just going to refresh this page just to make sure that Grafana is loading properly again after the restart. And yes, Grafana is loading properly. Now we are good to embed this panel. So for that, in order to embed a panel, we need to click here on this title. You see a tiny little arrow, so we are going to click there, and then we are going to click on share. And in share we are going to select embed, because we want to this panel to be able to embed to any other website. Now here it is giving us this tiny little iframe. We can copy this iframe, and we are going to paste this iframe here. So that's all. I'm just going to save it, and then we are going to go to this website, and I'm going to refresh it, and let's see what happens. Now you can see that we have Grafana panel embedded here. Now if you want to change height and width, you can do that of course. For example, you can see current height and width is set here. If I want to make it little bigger, and I can do that as well. So I'm just going to do that first and going to refresh it. You can see now Grafana panel is being open in pretty large space. So this looks too large. I'm just gonna change it to something which we can easily manage. So I'm just gonna make it 750, and then I'm also going to show you some of the other settings, so just be with me. Okay, now you see, notice one thing, that this Grafana, this data is not changing. Okay, and the reason why this is not changing is here. So if you see, when we embedded or when we copied this iframe, you can notice here we have current time range, and it says transform the current time range to an absolute time range. So that's the reason this is this time has been fixed here. So that's the reason this Grafana panel which we see here is not refreshing. So what I'm gonna do is we need to disable it, and then you can see this is the updated iframe which we received. So I'm going to remove this older iframe, and then I'm gonna paste it with this updated iframe. And also let's just make it 750, and also height we can make it 400, and save it. And now we are going to go here, going to refresh this, and now we can see that we have updated Grafana panel. Now here you will notice that data points are going to refresh automatically. Now you can see new data point has been added, which is 13, 31, 15. And as we speak, there is more and more data is going to continue keep adding here, which you will be able to see. Okay, you can see a new data point which is for 13, 31, 30. So that's it. That's all in this lesson. If you have any more question, please feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how we can send Grafana alerts on Microsoft Teams. So first of all, let's go to Microsoft Teams. And this is the team which I'm part of. So we need to create a channel. So I'm just going to click on more options and then click on add channel. And here we can give a name to this channel. So let's give this channel name as channel Grafana demo and then click on add. Now this channel is going to get created. You can see the channel is now created. So now you can see there is option of more in front of this channel name. So I'm going to click here and then we need to go to connectors. And in this connector, we are basically gonna just create a connector, and that connector is going to be called webhook. So here you can see incoming hook. Okay, so this is the one which we need to select. Now click on configure, and this is going to ask you what is the name you want to give it. So we MS Teams notification. And if you want to upload an image, you can upload the image, else you can leave it as it is. Now we are going to click on create, and then this is going to give us this unique URL which we need to copy, and then we need to paste this in a notification channel which we are now going to create in Grafana. So now we are going to go to notification channels. Just save this dashboard before we move on. And now inside notification channel, we need to click on new channel, and this channel we are going to call MS Teams notification. And in the type, we need to select Teams. So I'm just scrolling down, searching for MS Teams. Yeah, we got Microsoft Teams, and here it is asking for URL. So we are going to paste this URL which we just received from here. And now we can click here on done, and it is saying we are ready. We can just close this one, and we can just move on again to Grafana. And here now we can see we have put the URL. Now click on test. And if everything is okay, we are going to receive a test notification on MS Teams. So I have clicked on test, and here you can see it is saying test notification is sent. Now I'm going to go to this channel. You can see we have received notification. Okay, so it means now next notification if comes, it is going to be received on Microsoft Teams as well. So I'm going to click on save, and then we are just going to move on to this dashboard which was created, which is called system health. And here currently we can see it is already in a pending state, so we are going to receive an alert pretty soon. So let's wait for the alert. Yeah, we can see a red line appearing here, which means notification has been triggered, and we can go to here, and we are just waiting for notification to arrive here on this channel. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, we didn't really add, I just forgot to add the new notification channel which we have created. We also need to edit this, and we need to add that new notification channel here in the alert. So I just missed that, and I was expecting a new notification to come, which cannot happen for obvious reasons. So now we need to select MS Teams notification here as well. Now we need to click on apply, and we can also now change the settings of this alert, so we get a OK alert. I'm just gonna change it to some very high value, so this gets reset to OK, and then we are going to receive that notification on MS Teams. Now you can see we have received an OK event. So let's see if we have received it on Teams. Yeah, we can see we have received this OK event here on Microsoft Teams as well, which means now we are successfully able to send alerts on Microsoft Teams. So thank you so much for watching. See you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to monitor Docker using Prometheus, and then we are going to create dashboard in Grafana. So first step is we need to enable matrix on Docker, and for that we need to edit etc docker daemon.json file. Okay, so we need to, if you are on Linux, you need to edit this file, but if you are on Windows Server or any other, you need to follow this documentation. So since I'm on Linux, I'm going to go to the server where we have Docker installed, and by default if you see the file doesn't exist, in that case you can just go on and create the file. So I'm just going to open this file daemon.json, and then we can see currently file is empty. So I'm just gonna paste these two lines there. So just make sure whatever way it is mentioned here, you copy the same exactly, you copy the same way, and then we are going to just save it. Now we also need to restart Docker services. So I'm just gonna do sudo systemctl restart Docker. Okay, now that's perfectly fine. Now we are going to add this new system matrix which we have created to Prometheus, because now Prometheus needs to know that Prometheus also needs to pull Docker related matrix. So for that we are going to go to currently I'm on the server where we have installed Prometheus as well. Okay, so in my case Prometheus is also on this server, but in your case it might be on different server. So you need to go to Prometheus server and then modify prometheus.yml file, and here in the targets now we need to add a new target. So what is the target which we have created? I guess you guessed it right. So we need to say targets, and then we need to add localhost, and Docker is sending its matrix on this port which is 9323. So I'm gonna say 9323, and that's it. Everything looks okay. Now we can save and exit from here. Also we need to restart Prometheus because we have made changes in Prometheus configuration file. So in order to restart Prometheus, just do sudo systemctl restart Prometheus. And also if you want to just check the status again, just make sure you check the status just to ensure that everything is perfectly running. So we can see everything is running. Now let's move on to Prometheus. And in Prometheus I'm going to run this query. So this query is going to tell us how many Docker containers are currently running. So I'm going to click on execute, and right now we can see now Prometheus is able to collect all the matrix. Prometheus is saying that right now I have 5 Dockers which are in stop state, Docker containers which are in stop states, and there is no running container, and there is no container which is in paused state. Now if you want to verify this, and if you are new to Docker, in that case you can go to Docker documentation, and you can see the list of commands which are available here. But basically if you want to see all the Docker containers, so in that case we need to run we need to go to the server where we have Docker installed. So I'm just gonna first clear the screen, and then we are going to run docker container ls-a, and this is going to list all the containers. So here you can see, you can also count the number of containers, so it is matching. These are 5 containers which you can see here in Prometheus output as well. So it was saying that we have 5 containers, all of them are in stop state. Now what will happen if I run one of the containers? So let's see, I'm going to run a new container. I'm going to call it docker run, and we want to run httpd. So it's a new container now which has been running. Now let's go to Prometheus and try to execute this query again. So right now new statistics have not come. It's probably gonna wait another 10 seconds when we are able to see new stats. Now you can see we have one container which is showing as running. Okay, so you can see that now Prometheus is able to pull new data. So we are going to use the same query, and we are going to go to Grafana, and we are going to add a new panel. Let's add an empty panel, and this time I'm going to use let's say I'm gonna use pie chart, because we have not used pie chart as of now, and I'm going to paste this query here. And now we can see that we are getting the data here. It is saying that there are 5 containers which are in stop state, there is a container which is in running state, and here it is showing us the data. Now I'm just gonna change the formatting here. I'm gonna put state, so we only see running, stopped or paused. And now also I just want to change the label to table. Yeah, I don't want to keep list, I just change it to table, and also I want to show some values which is gonna be values. Okay, so we can see that we have running 1, we have stopped as 5 containers. I'm just gonna click on apply, and also let me just quickly go on and change this. So I changed it to Docker container status, and now we are just gonna play a bit more. I'm just going to run a couple of more containers. Now let's see if we are able to see the updated status here. Now you can see we have 2 containers which is in running state, and so right now total it is saying we have 7 containers. Let's again verify it by doing docker container ls-a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So here we have 8 containers, so it is still refreshing. Yeah, you can see now 6 of them are in stop state and 2 of them are in running state. Now I'm just going to remove a couple of containers, and then I'm going to give image ID of some of the containers which I want to remove. So I'm just going to give all of these container ID here, and let's say we end up removing some of them. Okay, so some of the containers have been gone, have been removed. So now these values should be refreshing pretty soon. Now you can see we only have we only have, in total we have 5 containers, and 3 are in stop state, 2 are in running state. So you can now see how easy it is to monitor Docker using Prometheus and then showing the visualization in Grafana. So that's all in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson. Hey everyone, I hope all of you are doing great. So in this lesson we are going to learn how to monitor websites using Prometheus, and then we are going to create a beautiful dashboard in Grafana. So let's try to understand or break down everything into 3 parts. First part, we are going to configure Blackbox, and then in second part we are going to configure Prometheus, and in third part we are going to create Grafana. So you may install Blackbox on the same server where Prometheus is running, or you may install Blackbox on a different server. So in my case, I'm going to install Blackbox on this server, which is the same server on which Prometheus is running. So in order to install Blackbox, we first need to download Blackbox, and for that you can go to prometheus.io/download, scroll down, search for Blackbox exporter, and then depending on the operating system, select the software which you want. So in my case, I have downloaded this Linux AMD. After you download, you need to uncompress it. Then you will be seeing Blackbox exporter directory, which you can see here in this case. And then once you go inside this directory, you can see by default we have blackbox_exporter, and then there is going to be a configuration file which is going to be called blackbox.yml file. Now I have changed that. I have created a new file which is called monitor_website.yml file, and in this file I'm going to keep the configuration. So now let me show you what is the configuration which we have kept here. It is pretty straightforward, okay, and all of this is beautifully explained in the documentation of Prometheus documentation. So if you go to github.com/prometheus/blackbox_exporter and then scroll down, and you can see all of these steps are mentioned here pretty beautifully. So what we need to do is, these are the changes which we need to do in Prometheus configuration. We'll come to this, but before this, we can see an example of the configuration which needs to be done in Blackbox side. So I'm just going to open up in this documentation in the new tab, and here you can see it's a complete example which has been given here. So I have just copied the one which we need. So we are just going to be discussing about HTTP response things. So that's why we just need first 8 lines. So I have copied this first 8 lines, and I have I have created a new file which is called monitor_website, and I have pasted those 8 lines here. Okay, so that's pretty much installing Prometheus Blackbox and configuring the configuration file. Now once these 2 things are done, we need to configure Blackbox service file, and as I shown you in previous example, that how we can create this service file for Prometheus, or we created it for Node exporter. Similarly, you can go ahead and create a file, a blackbox.service file, and paste this here. So in this one, if you just see here, in the execution start, we need to give Blackbox exporter complete path, and then in the config file, we need to give the config file complete path. So the new config file which I have created is called monitor_website.yml, which is this file. So once you create the service, after that you can reload the service by doing sudo systemctl daemon reload, and then we are good to start Blackbox service. Okay, so you can start Blackbox service by writing sudo systemctl start Blackbox. Now once we do that, and then we can also check for status of it. So we can write status, and then we can see that Blackbox is running. Now we need to do some of the changes in on Prometheus side. So as I shown you, we need to do 2 things on Prometheus. We need to update the Prometheus configuration file, and also we need to then restart Prometheus services. So why we need to change Prometheus configuration file? The reason for that is that now we need to tell Prometheus that it should start scraping Blackbox related data as well. So that's the reason we need to modify Prometheus configuration file. So I'm just going to go back and going to go to Prometheus configuration, going to go to Prometheus directory, and let me clear the screen and do ls-lrt. You can see we are at this location, and here I have Prometheus.yml file, and here the changes which we need to do is also mentioned in the documentation. So if we go back again to GitHub, and here we can see in Prometheus configuration, so you can copy everything which is available here, and then you can paste it here. Okay, just remember one thing: if you already have scrape configuration, which is which you can see in my case, then from here you don't need to copy this scrape config line. You can just copy the remaining lines, or you can copy everything and then you can delete this scrape config line in your editor. So in this case, you can see it is pretty much, I have copied everything from here, and then in the website, in the targets, These are the websites which you want to monitor. So I have just added few websites which I want to monitor. You can add more websites. So for example, let's say if you want to monitor some other site, like I'm going to add Instagram.com. I know in your production environment it is not going to be some public website, it is going to be some of the enterprise website which you might be interested to monitor, or some of the web application in within your organization which you want to monitor. So you can give URL of all of those sites here. Now remember one thing, in the module name you need to give the module name which you have given in the black box configuration file. So here this is called http 2xx_example, and if I just save and exit, and if I just go back to black box configuration file just to show you, you can see the name is http:2xx_example. So just make sure in the Prometheus configuration file you give the exact same name, otherwise you might face some issue. So now here you can see we have given the complete list of websites which we want to monitor, and then you can just scroll down, and in the replacement you can see here you need to give the server IP address and the port where you have installed a black box exporter. So in my case, since black box exporter is also installed on the same server where Prometheus is running, so that's the reason I have given localhost :9115. But in your production environment you might be having a separate server for black box, so you need to give that black box server's IP address and port. And now you can save it. We can restart the services, and I'm going to check the status again just to make sure everything is running fine. Okay, so you can see Prometheus is running. So now we have black box running and Prometheus running. So all of these configurations are done. Now we are going to move on to Grafana, and we will start creating dashboards. So let me go back to Grafana. Now I'm going to add a panel, and we are going to add an empty panel. I already have a query which I need to paste here. So this is the query which I want to see. I want to see whether all of the website is returning HTTP status code of 200 or not 200. So by 200 it means it is working fine, and any non 200 code means it is not working fine. So this kind of data is best suited to be seen here in a table. So I'm going to select table, and also we need to make sure in format we change from time series, we change it to table. Now you can see we have changed it to table, and also we need to enable instant, so we always see the latest data. And now here you can see the response code which is being returned. So anything which is having value of 200, it means your site is up and running properly, and anything which is returning non 200 codes, it means you need to see what is the what is the meaning of that code. So for example, you can just see here HTTP response codes value, and here you are going to see your status code in HTTP. So you can see that all of these different status code is having different meaning. This is I think just having few codes, but in actual there are more codes which are available. So anyhow, we know that 200 means okay. So what we can do is, on the right hand side, if you just scroll down, there is an option which is called value mapping. So we are going to map this value, and we are going to say when a value is equal to 200, it means it is okay. And also when it is okay, I want to change the color to green. So we are just going to select green here, and then we are going to say add a new value mapping, and in this we are going to specify range. So we want anything between 0 to 199 to be shown as not okay, and we are going to also show it in red color. And then we are just going to create one more mapping. I'm going to show anything which starts from 201 to 600. I guess our range ends around 500, but just I'm gonna give 600 for safer side. And this also is going to be not okay, so I'm just gonna change it to red, and then you can click on update, and now you can see that rather than having status code, these values have changed to okay or not okay. Now one thing, if you want these colors to take effect, in this case you can see that color is not taking effect. Now the reason for that is we need to change this cell display mode, and we need to change it to color text. So now you can see we are able to see green color or red color depending on whatever we have set here in this value mapping. Now this looks fine. I'm just going to rename it and then going to click on apply. So we know we have now information about this, and probably some of these details are not required, so you can go on and edit it. So we can hide this non-wanted column, we can hide time, and also we can hide name and job. So in order to do that, we can go to transform, and then we can search for, we are going to search for filter by name, and here you can see all the fields. So I'm going to hide time, I'm going to hide name, and also we don't need job. So we are interested in instance, and we are interested in value. Now we can click on apply, and this is how this is going to look like. Now other query which I have is going to give us whether it is using SSL or non-SSL. So let me just go on, and we are going to click on add new panel again. We are going to write this query here, and then we can see the data here. So what I'm gonna do is, again, I'm going to go ahead and use table, and then we are going to change this time series to table. We are going to enable instance, and now you can see anything which is having value of 1, it means the SSL is working on that. Anything which is not having value of 0, it means SSL is not working. Okay, basically it didn't give us SSL response. Now what we need to do is we will do the mapping again. So we are going to go to value mapping again. I'm gonna go to add new mapping, going to go to value, and 1 means SSL. And also if you just want to give some color coding, you can do that. And then if value is 0, it means no SSL. And you may want to highlight it again depending on your need. So in this case I just did it. And also again we can go to cell display mode and change it to color text, or if you want to change it to color background, you can do that as well. So I'm just gonna change it to color text. It looks quite okay. And I'm gonna go to transform, going to scroll down, going to go to filter by name, just going to remove time, and now we can call it SSL. So now you can see now we are able to see data related to website status, and also we are able to see whether these sites are having SSL or not. Now there are a couple of more queries which are available which you may run. So for example, here we can see how much time it has taken to perform different actions. So for example, if I run this query, let's see what is the output which we receive. So for example, I'm gonna go to add an empty panel, and the data which it is going to give is going to be okay, that we use time series for that. So here you can see this is the kind of response which we are getting. I'm just going to narrow down the window from last 6 hours. I'm going to narrow down to last 15 minutes, and here you can see basically different response. So for example, different response for different operations. So for example, you can see we have different operations like connect, processing, resolve, TLS, and transfer, and this is showing how much time is taken for all of these operations. Now what we can do is let's get rid of this phase. So I'm going to use phase, and then we are going to see only the phase labels. We are not going to see phase string. And then I'm going to enable table, and also if you just want to show some value, for example, you might want to show max value and also min value, so you know how much is the max and min time is being taken for each of these different types of operations. Now let's just save it. I'm just going to give it name of HTTP duration, and then we can click on apply and save it. So now you can continue exploring it and continue creating more queries here depending on your need. But this is pretty much it. This is how you can use Prometheus and you can monitor your website. And if you have any more question, feel free to ask me. So that's all in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you how we can send an alert on Telegram. So again, we have to go to alerts and create a new notification channel. And this time we are going to select Telegram as a notification channel. So here I'm going to select Telegram, and also I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Operation Telegram. And here we need to provide bot API and chat ID. So where we will get this information? So I will tell you how we can get this information. So we need to go to Telegram, and then we need to search for bot father, and you need to create a bot using bot father. If you already have created a bot, then you must be aware of your bot API token, which you can put it here. And if you have not created a bot, in that case what you need to do is you just go to bot father, and then you need to write /start, enter, and then it is going to ask you what you want to do. So we want to create a new bot, so which means we need to write /new bot. So either you can select this option or you can write /new bot, and then it is asking what is the name which you want to give it to this bot. So I'm just gonna give a name to this bot. Let's call it Grafana 8, and then it is saying give it a username as well. So I'm gonna call it Grafana 8 underscore bot. So this bot username must end with underscore bot, which you can see here. So that's the reason I have given it Grafana 8 underscore bot as a username. Now send this message, and it is going to give you the token ID. Okay, so this is the token which we have received, which we can paste here in Telegram bot API token. And now we need chat ID. So chat ID is basically the group ID in which you want to receive the notification. So for example, let's say we want to receive the notification in I have created one of the groups. So I'm going to add this new bot in this group. So I'm going to click on add, and the new bot which we created is called Grafana 8 underscore bot. So I'm going to add this bot Grafana 8 underscore bot in this group. Okay, so this bot is added in this group, and now we want to know the chat ID of this group. Now in order to get the chat ID, what we can do is you can add a bot in this group which is called chat bot. I have created this bot to make it easier for you guys. Okay, so you can just you can go and click on add user and search for Vikas Jha 001, and then you are going to see this chat bot. So add this chat bot. It is already added in my case, but you need to add it. So once you add this chat bot, then you can write /get underscore ID. Okay, so once you write get underscore ID, this chat bot is going to reply to you, and it is going to reply you with the chat ID. So I'm just going to copy this chat ID and going to paste this chat ID here, and then we can click on test in order to see whether everything is okay or not. Let's click on test. So it is saying test notification is sent. So on Telegram we must have received a test notification. Okay, we can see we have received a test notification. So it means notification channel is created. We are going to save it, and now we can see we have two notification channels. So I'm again going back to dashboard which we had previously created, which is called system health dashboard, and in memory usage I'm just going to edit it, and I'm going to change alerting. And previously we were sending an email. I'm going to add one more channel this time. We are going to add operation-telegram as well. I had changed this number previously, just to avoid alerts multiple times. Now I'm going to again change this condition to 100. That's it. We can click on test rule to see everything is okay. Everything looks okay. Now we can click on save and apply. And now we just need to wait for a few minutes in order to see the notification. As you can see, we already have received a trigger which is right now in yellow color. So we are going to wait for another 1 minute when it turns to a red one, and then we are going to receive a notification. So right now if you see in Telegram we have we have already received this. So it means this trigger has already been breached, and right now if we refresh this dashboard we should be able to see the red line. Yeah, you can see the red line is already here, and that's the reason we have already received this notification on Telegram. So that's all in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson. So in this lesson I'm going to show you how we can send email alert from Grafana. So first of all we need to do SMTP related configuration in grafana.ini file. So I'm going to go to the server where we have installed Grafana, and then we need to go to etc grafana.ini file. We need to open it up, and we need to make some changes in the configuration file. So I'm opening this using VI editor, and also we need to prefix sudo in the beginning because this is the location which is accessed by sudo. So if you don't have sudo access, just make sure you get it enabled by asking system admin. Now I'm going to open it, and then we are going to search for SMTP. So I'm searching for SMTP, and we can see SMTP section is available here. So I'm going to remove this semicolon from enabled, and here I'm going to change it to true. And hostname, it is going to be SMTP hostname provider, whichever is available with you. So in my case I already have SMTP details, so this is SMTP detail which I'm going to give here. Whichever SMTP detail which you receive from your SMTP administrator, you can put that detail here. Now here I need to give a username. So username is going to be email@itpanther.com, and then password is going to be Grafana demo 123. And for certification file, key file, we can just ignore. It is only required if there is SSL verification is required. So in my case, I'm just gonna skip it. So I'm gonna make skip verify to true. And now in the from address, you can type the email address which is going to be shown to recipient. So here I'm also going to change it to email @ I'm just gonna make it itpanther.com again. And from name is actually just a logical name. You can give any name, and when receiver receives an email, he's going to see this name. So that's it. Now I'm going to save this setting, and then we are going to restart Grafana services. So for that we need to write sudo systemctl restart grafana-server. So whenever you make configuration changes, make sure you restart Grafana services. And also once we restart Grafana services, we are going to check the status again. So I'm going to write status, and Grafana is active and running, so which means we should be able to just refresh the screen. It might ask for relogin. Let's see. No worries, it didn't ask for relogin, so everything is okay. We are good to go. Now I'm just gonna click on save dashboard once, just to make sure we don't lose anything. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is this is memory usage panel which we had created. Now I'm going to enable a threshold on this one. So I'm going to edit it, and then what I will try to do is, you can see this column, this query C, where we are saying used memory. So we are going to enable some threshold that whenever used memory increases at certain threshold, we want an email alert to be triggered. Okay, so we are going to do that. So now in order to create a notification, first of all we need to create a notification channel. So we are going to go to alerting and gonna click on notification channels, and it is just going to ask whether we want to save current dashboard. Yes, I want to save it. So click on save dashboard, click on save, and then we are at alerting. Okay, so alerting, we need to click on add channel, and here we can give the name to this channel. So let's say I'm going to call it operational. Yeah, I'm just going to call it operation. And then we need to select the type of notification channel. So in this case we want to select email, and in addresses you can give email addresses which you want to give. So by default I have just given grafana-demo@mailinator.com, and this is the email box where we are going to receive email. So right now you see we do not have any email available here. If you want to give multiple emails, you can separate multiple emails by giving semicolon. Now let's see what are the other options available. So if I expand optional email settings, you can see we have option of sending single email, so I don't want to check it. And then we have option of notification settings where we have include image. So I'm gonna click on check, and we want to make sure it is checked. And then we can click on test, and if everything is okay, our SMTP configuration was okay, then in that case it is going to send us a sample email. So let's click on test, and it is saying test notification is sent. So probably we are going to receive an email on this mailbox pretty soon. Yeah, you can see we have received a test email. So you can see here everything looks okay. We have received the email. We can now click on save. We can save these settings. Now this is the notification channel name which we have now. Okay, it is called operation. Now I'm going to go back to the dashboard. So I'm going to click on home, and we have created a dashboard which was called system health, and this is memory usage panel. I'm going to click on edit, and now in this one we have three queries, right? Query A is actually for a total memory available, and query B is for how much is free memory, and query C for how much memory which is being used. Now I'm going to click on alert, and then we need to create an alert. So I'm going to click on create an alert, and here we are going to configure the alert. Now let's try to understand this first. So this is the name of the alert. So whatever name you give here, it is going to be, when you receive an email, you are going to receive this as well. In the evaluate every, we are going to tell after how many minutes we want this query or conditions to be evaluated. So in this case, let's say I'm saying I want this to be evaluated every 1 minute. And then we are saying for how long we want it to be evaluated before sending an email alert. So for example, in cases of CPU utilization or memory utilization, let's say you are setting a threshold of CPU utilization more than 80%, but you don't want to send an email as soon as your CPU utilization goes more than 80%. Let's say you want to wait for 10 minutes, and once your CPU utilization is consistently above 80% for more than 10 minutes, in that case you want to send an email alert. alert. Okay, so in that case you are going to keep evaluate to every minute, and then you are going to keep it for 10 minutes. Okay, so basically you are evaluating every minute, and if it is constantly above threshold for 10 minutes, in that case you want to send an email alert. Now since it is a demo environment, I'm going to change it only to 1 minute, and now here in the condition we need to write for which query we want to trigger an alert. So I'm saying when max, I'm going to change it from average to max, and here in query you can see by default it is showing A. I'm gonna change it to C, and what is the data it should look for? So in this case I'm gonna change it 1 minute from now, and I'm going to say if it is above, let's say it is above 100. Okay, I'm just going to give less value so it reaches the threshold and we receive an email notification. Okay, so let's scroll down now, and in the send to we can click on plus, and then it is going to show us all the notification channels which we have created, and then we can select one of those. In our case we have created only one notification channel, so we see only one notification channel which is called operation. So I'm gonna select it, and then we can type any custom message which we want, and if you want to create tags you can do that. For now I'm just gonna leave it, and now we can click on test rule. If everything is okay, it is just going to show everything green. If there is any issue, it is going to show you that error message. Okay, so now we can just cross it or close it, and now we can click on apply. Now we have to wait for a couple of minutes before we start seeing that there is an alert created, and then we are going to check our email box. So you can see here we have a yellow line which is indicating that our condition, whatever rule which we had defined, has met, and now it is just waiting for another condition to fulfill. So alert has been started. Now it is in pending state, and it is just going to wait for another 1 minute because that's what we specified in our alerting rules, and then after 1 minute it is going to show us one more line which is going to be a red line, and that is the time when email is going to be sent. Notice one more thing here. Now in front of panel we also have a heart symbol here, okay, which is currently showing in yellow color, and very soon it is going to be changed to red color. Here you go. Now you can see a red line. This is indicating that our alert has been triggered, and also you can see now this heart has been changed to red color, and it is kind of heartbroken symbol which is being shown here. Now we are also we can see we have already received an email alert, and you can see this is the name of our alert which is called memory usage alert. Also we can see the data here, and also we can see it is saying that current memory usage is this value. Okay, so that's it in this lesson. See you again in the next lesson.